me here, I really known to lead the way. Ain't no shame, we came a long way from hurt and pain. Band together like we drumming up 100K. What a lovely day. Lot of hill, lot of hill, lot of hill, ayy. Lot of hill, lot of hill, lot of hill, ayy. These 365 all day, every day. On our way to making waves, watching sea change. Lot of hill, lot of hill, lot of hill, ayy. Lot of hill, lot of hill, lot of hill, ayy. No competition, we just building each other. Stay united and undivided, we gon' win with each other, okay. We band together to uplift, raise the standards, be the gift. Switching gears, leaving hate, putting love back in shift. Why we gotta go to war and leave ourselves with regret? See, the problem ain't a problem, ain't no need to bust a tap. Do you really understand disrespect? Was it just a misunderstanding? It don't take all that, homie, keep that 9 tuck, quick fast. Jump on the wrong move, you might lose your life, a little rest of it in the slammer's turf. Prison over a little argument ain't worth the cost of a casket. No need to feel a type of way, no need why. We gon' prosper here today, come see why. Peace 365, time to let go of that pride and see the value of a life. Lot of hill, lot of hill, lot of hill, ayy. Lot of hill, lot of hill, lot of hill, ayy. Peace 365 all day, every day. On our way to making waves, watching sea change. Lot of hill, lot of hill, lot of hill, ayy. Lot of hill, lot of hill, lot of hill, ayy. No competition, we just building each other. Stay united and undivided, we gon' win with each other, okay. We stay up, we run it up, never downplay, we double up. Team of big hearts, no back pain, we all work to live burdens up. Won't leave you out by your lonely now. Stand strong, build together, love. If you see someone's in need, keep it a buck, go ahead and help them up. Dr. King taught us love and grace is the only way to really make a change. No need for us to really beef, dog, there's another way to eat gourmet. Yeah, we all got different background, but we all need blood to circulate. One bite, one mind, one heart.
Hello, everyone. I am Denise Pendergrass, and we are back with you with our Lauderhill Peace and Me live. And if you missed the Peace Fest, you just missed it. It was beautiful. It was unity. We all came together in love, peace, and unity. And today we have a special guest with us who is a mother. Brittany Buckner is a mother, an advocate, and a member of the Peace 365 movement, whose life was forever changed by the loss of her daughter, Destiny, to gun violence on July 4th of 2022. We have Brittany here with us. Brittany, we thank you so much for taking the time out to come and share your story with us. How it all began, how you got to where you are. So we just truly thank you for taking the time and having the strength to share your story here with us on Peace and Me Live. We welcome you.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
So basically, July 4th was pretty much like any summer holiday. And Destiny was at that time 19 years old. She's my oldest child, my only daughter. We pretty much found out a little backstory on her, that she had overcame the severest symptoms or the harshest part of lupus her senior year. And we found that out around Christmas. We thought it was COVID because we were letting up when they were starting to finally let us, come back outside 6 feet apart. So we thought she had COVID, but then we found out that she had lupus, and she ended up in the ICU of Joe DiMaggio, and literally was in the hospital for about a month until we finally were able to get her stabilized in her body. She couldn't walk. It really had took a turn for the worst, and that's when they realized that she had lupus. So finally we were able to regulate her medications, and she just wanted to graduate high school and become a Black firefighter woman after, just dealing with the medical and the ambulance. And she said, Mom, I want to become a firefighter woman. And those were our last few kind of tit for tat mom and daughter arguments. I'm like, you can't breathe. We're still fighting with the blood clots. And she was like, don't worry about it. I'm going to call you back. I'm going to figure this out. And I'm like, you have to do the agility test. And she was gaining her momentum back. And the doctors were very surprised of her turnaround in such short notice compared to other people. So we graduated, we did prom. She still continued working, very strong girl, very she took lupus very hard because of the medications and just how it changed her world. She couldn't do the typical young adult stuff anymore. And so in the midst of encouraging her and we got through that hurdle, July 4th, basically spoken with her, asking how she was feeling. And, Mom, I'm going to get ready to celebrate July 4th. And this particular time, because she was always a hard worker, she decided to take off and go spend time with family. And so at that time, I was getting ready for work and getting ready to just, grab barbecue and wrap up the night early. I got a phone call around 7 o'clock that evening. And a family member was frantically yelling over the phone, you need to get to the hospital. Destiny was shot. And I was arguing with them because I'm like, are you sure you have the right child? It just didn't make sense. I thought it was a prank. That was my concern was, are you sure you have the right child? And then the phone called back again and they're like, you need to come to the hospital now. So, pretty much just panicked, got in my car praying I didn't get any tickets because it felt like everybody was driving so slow. I didn't care. I didn't even remember if the lights were green, yellow, red. I just drove to the emergency room. And so we get there and I could it just feels like a dream, like a never ending nightmare of waking up and I'm yelling, what happened to my baby? What happened to my baby? And all they could tell me was that she was shot. And coming from knowingly like the medical background, blood and stuff doesn't scare me. So I'm wanting to go back there. I was with her in the hospital. And it didn't dawn upon me, but it took forever for the doctors and everyone to come out and tell me what had happened. Like, I just wanted to see my child. And I'll never forget it. The doctors and the nurses came out and I was in the lobby waiting. And they told me, I'm sorry, we tried everything that we could to save her. And it still didn't register. I'm like, what do you mean? And they said, she's gone. And the room just went black. I could hear other family members screaming. No, I could hear my boys screaming, that's my sister. I could hear all of the noise in the emergency hospital room, but the room just felt black. And I had a family member of mine literally had to pick me up off the floor and say, I'm here, it's me. And that's when the nightmare began. I can't hear you.
All right. So Brittany, we're gonna let you breathe a little bit on that part. And just to mention, I do apologize. We are on episode 2 of the Peace in Me Live. So Brittany, being that I am a grief counselor as well, and you getting that phone call, can you share a little about your child and what they were like before the tragedy occurred? What took place on that day? I know you gave us a little description, but like give us a little more about who she was before that.
Destiny was always, um, she was very smart, very a learner, always willing to try new things. In high school, she played softball. She actually was in the orchestra and she played the viola.
Oh wow.
And to my knowledge, no one in the family is like musically inclined like that. It was like, what is Beethoven doing in the house? I've heard her, in the room sneak and play because she didn't want no one to know that she actually knew how to play this instrument. And I'm like,
Wow.
how did you know how to play this? Like, very gifted, very smart. It didn't take school as far as work. Oh, mom, I don't have to study. I'm gonna ace it. Like, who is this child?
The confidence. Wow.
She was always, yeah, and her personality, she was full of life. I really just think Destiny didn't take anything. She took life serious, but she was always finding the best in everything that happened,
I
if that
love
makes
that.
sense. Like, that was just her personality. You could be having a bad day, and
Right.
Destiny's gonna see the light in somewhere in there.
I love that. I
She was
love
always
that.
just since the baby, she was just always a happy baby.
That's great. That's great. That now that's something to remember, right? So
Oh
how
yeah, most
has
definitely.
yes, yes. So how has the loss of her impact your life and your family's dynamic? How has that affected you guys? How are you um like you said you have siblings, she had siblings. So how did that affect you guys? Did you notice how they grieved? Um and it was because the mother's relationship versus the siblings relationship is different. Did you notice
Mhm.
their grieving, or was it more so of you, just being in that stuck place? You know what I mean? Because, and the reason I'm asking this
Mhm.
question, because I've lost someone, and
Mhm.
I remember that feeling, that my grief from my children was different from the grief that I was feeling. And I didn't find that out until later on. And my son told me that I was selfishly grieving. And I'm like, how do you selfishly grieve? And his answer was that everything, and I think it was more so everyone saying that you are, it's mom, 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 you got to be strong for your mom, you got to. And I think that's how they felt, because everybody was asking about mom. You know what I mean? Like, how
Mhm.
are you? um so how did that impact your life and your family dynamic?
Um, well, as far as my family, it was not it wasn't easy at all because it wasn't like a health condition where we knowingly knew, Destiny didn't have time or, lupus was eating away. This was suddenly out of nowhere. That's one. Two, with my children, well, let me back up. Um, I had to pull myself up out of that muck to remember I had other children because I literally felt like I got hit by a train. And then when I realized, oh my gosh, I do have other children, and it sounds crazy, but when you're in that mental state, like in a trance, I personally had to fight to get out that dark space. And then when I realized my children, I knew we were all grieving because we went through a period where nobody was talking to each other, and I knew it wasn't nothing towards me, but literally, like, I no one ate. All it was protein shakes, Gatorade. Everybody would sleep. Hey, you guys okay? Yeah, we'll all go back to sleep, like literally together. And so um that was their way of grieving. In a sense, they finally are kind of starting to come out of it to say, hey ma, I miss Destiny. And it took a minute to go there. It took a minute for them to actually start to become sociable again because they did shut themselves off. But you're absolutely right that and I felt bad because it's like, how do you grieve and still have to take care of a household and still have to watch of other children? And it wasn't being selfish on purpose, but as a mother, and then even with the grieving, I became, sometimes overbearing with my own children. What are you doing? Who are you going with? I just became this overprotective, angry mama bear. Like, I lost one child and it's not going to happen again. Not on my time if I can help it. So I do believe that there was a time where I realized that, and knowingly and unknowingly, that it was selfish. But it wasn't on purpose and it wasn't intentional. But that's what made me realize, oh my gosh, I have kids, I have other children, and I need to make sure of their well-being as well too.
Thank you for answering that question, Brittany. And as it relates to grieving and parenting, trust me, I do understand that. And I didn't mention earlier, but I lost my husband, and it kind of was a break in our family dynamic as well. But I believe you kind of answered the next question that I had for you, Brittany, which is, what was that pivotal moment that gave you the confidence and the strength to keep life moving? That moment when you said to yourself, I can't stay here, I can't stay stuck. So that was my next question to you. But I believe that you did answer that question. Like, I'm a mom, I have other kids. And that was one of the things that as also, stuck out for me. I had to realize that, because we went through the same exact thing that you went through. Nobody's talking to each other. My kids didn't even want to be around me because they said I was somebody different. I don't know if you had experienced that, but you would think when there's a part of that unity is broken, you would think that it would make it tighter or better, because I've seen this in other families. Like, it would make us closer, but my kids didn't want to be around me. And, so I do understand, that part of the grieving process. Now, how important is having a support system? Can you describe the support system you have in place, and has it been helpful to you, or hasn't it been helpful? Like, what got you to that place where, what, I got to talk about it. I got to share, I got to share my story. You know what I mean? So, and I know that you found strength and support through the Peace 365 movement, and our community help you to navigate, through that. So can you tell us a little bit about, your support system?
Honestly, in the beginning, I felt like I was screaming in a room, asking and begging for help. Just, trying to have someone to hear me out and try to find answers. Then it.
I think you froze. Okay. Looks like Brittany may have frozen, you guys, but I'm sure she will be back in. But as she prepared herself to continue answering this question. But I'm grateful that she is on with us to share her story. I do understand the grieving process. We do go through that stage of in denial. We go through that stage of bargaining and doubt. Like she stated earlier, that it was like a dream. It's a joke? Like, is this a prank? When she got that call. And I remember also, okay, so you guys, I was just gonna say that I remember that when I got the phone call that my husband was no longer here. But I do understand that stage that Brittany went through, and not believing when she got that call, because that call is devastating, and no mother, no parent, no one wants that call to say that your child is no longer here, or you need to rush to the hospital. It's that anxiety that builds up within us. And like she said, she was rushing, she was going to the and get to the hospital or whatever. So Brittany, if you want to go ahead and continue answering that question, we're going to give you that opportunity. If you would like for me to ask that question again, I can do that as well.
Yes. So basically, in the beginning, I was just running around frantic, trying to figure out what happened, what was the story, trying to get anyone that would listen to me to hear it out. And then after a while, in between the times, it became frustrating, and I was like, you know what, I don't want to talk about it no more. And it felt like talking about it, I would feel these moments and rage of anger because I was still trying to grasp the fact that I really lost Destiny. Um, and then I said, you know what, let me. So, and I was talking to another mother who lost a child, and this happened previously. And she said, have you ever honestly just took a step back and just talk? She said, but you can't talk to everyone because they're not going to understand where you're coming from.
Right.
In the beginning, it was just more of, oh, well, I just let me talk to Brittany because you come around people and they will genuinely ask how you're doing. But at the
Right.
end of the day, people do move forward with their life.
Yes.
6 months after the burial, it's not going to be, as tight of closeness. And I just felt like, oh, okay, well, if I come around them, they're going to be like, oh, here's Brittany again talking about Destiny. She has nothing else to talk about. So I had to really figure out who was truly my support system, whether if I was going up or down or coming around. And when I said, you know what, I'm going to start talking about it, even if it hurts. And, it did hurt the more and more I started talking about it. But also, too, I felt my heart becoming lighter because there were times where I would talk about it and then I'd go home and cry for like 3 days. I felt like I had a setback. But I was like, okay, well, this we're coming up 3 years, and the 3 years definitely doesn't feel like the first year. But it still doesn't change the dynamics of the pain and the situation. I just learned how to adjust way better. So, with community, with the Peace 365, you know, that support system really has helped me to get my boldness into telling her story and keeping her name alive so that one day she will get her justice. And even, with the times, like I said, that I didn't feel like talking, they would reach out, hey, how are you? How are you feeling today? Or, did you get out and get some sun? It was never any judgment. Everything was with gentleness and with love. So I really did appreciate that. And even just this year, I cried seeing the memorial. It was very beautiful, but I also too felt like this year was actually even more healing for me being at that peace garden. And it was beautiful. So
Wow. Wow. That that testimony right there, that was a testimony and that was beautiful. And Brittany, I'm telling you, we really appreciate you. And it was very heartfelt for me as well. Just seeing the Peace Garden and the families that came out to join us, the people that even watched the families, and how heartfelt you can literally look at people. You can see, you can sense, you can feel the peace that was there.
mhm.
So we're happy that you came out, you did not just sit in it, you came there and you showed up. And I think that's what's important. We have to continue to show up and show up for one another, because I know, with a lot of people that I deal with, grief isn't easy, and there's no one way, there's no straight line. You have to have a community,
Mhm.
because if you don't have that community, it will keep you stuck. And
Mhm.
that's what I find. A lot of people, they ask the question, how do I begin again? How do I become unstuck? How do I get a new routine of how things used to be? And I've been in all of those places, so I'm grateful that I'm able to be able to, share my story, because now I find healing in sharing my story. Sharing
Mm-hmm.
my story gave me strength,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that, you know what, I wasn't alone. And like you just said, you spoke to someone that had lost a child, or someone may have lost their child due to gun violence as well. And I think that's where the healing starts, because we find out that it's not just me and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not alone. There is someone that understands. So you
Mm-hmm.
get in that community and you connect and you stay connected,
Mm-hmm.
because when you having those hard moments, you're going to need somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That's no time to stay and sit in silence. That's no time to sit and mope and feel sorry for yourself. That's time to reach out for help.
Mm-hmm.
And you did that, Brittany. So we're just so grateful that you are here on this platform. So grateful that you are part of the Peace 365 movement. It hits so close to home. So we just thank you so much. And with that being said, I actually have maybe two more questions for you, Brittany.
Okay.
Um, I know that you're part of the Peace 365 movement, but have you been involved with any advocacy or community efforts since your daughter's loss? If so, can you tell us about that experience?
Um, as of right now, I'm still trying to figure out certain things. Because of, she did have the background with lupus. So
Okay.
I'm maybe wanting to like look into, partnering or maybe getting communications like to bring lupus awareness
Okay.
in that aspect. And also to maybe something dealing with being a black firefighter woman. So honestly, I'm getting my feet wet, but I'm starting to learn how to, like you say, show up, because I would show up and then go back in the bat cave, show up and then go back in the bat cave. So I'm finally starting to feel even the more comfortable with, not running, not hiding. But those are the few of the things of ideas that I have to represent Destiny. I've met a lot of people. I've had a lot of connections, but sometimes I had to learn that sensitive part where my heart was bleeding, how to stand firm with that. So those are just a few other ideas that I do want to do in representation of Destiny.
Okay, that sounds great. It's awesome, and I think that just connecting with different people, and first and foremost, I'm sure that maybe Commissioner Dunn can connect you with someone. And first, we just have to give her props.
Oh
Commissioner
yeah.
Dunn wasn't able to come on today, but I want you to know that she appreciates you sharing your story and being part of this movement. And Commissioner Dunn, if you are tuned in, I want you to know that I appreciate you for giving me this opportunity to interview with Brittany. I am inspired by her story. I can relate to some of the things that she's speaking about as it relates to grief. We thank you for answering the call for peace, because peace, it starts within, and
Mm-hmm.
that's something that starts within. And God can give us that peace in the midst of the storm.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's my source. That anybody that knows me, hey, God is my source. So we thank you, Brittany. So now you kind of answered my last question also, because I was going to ask you, in what way would you like to honor her memory? And you just gave it to me. So
Um,
do
and
you
there
want
was
to
another
share
thing
and
too.
add more? Okay.
Yeah, and there was another thing too. You know, losing a loved one, it's not easy. Whether it's a child, a family member, a spouse, a sister, an uncle. I think sometimes people, and this is just what I've learned in just stepping back watching, I think sometimes because of the hurt, we tend to shut down and not Our pride doesn't want us to ask for help because, when you're learning to deal with all of these emotions coming at you at one time, sometimes it really can feel like you're going crazy. And when you're going through all of this stuff, you don't want to be looked at as I'm going crazy, but it's
Right.
not. It's not that you're going crazy. You're just having to, like my therapist explained to me, you're having to put these different feelings in their different places on the perspective shelves so that you can have a clear mind. So, I just wanted to say, anyone who's dealing with grief, find you someone that you can trust. That is definitely important, to have a safe space. Never be afraid to ask for help. But also, to isolation is not good. So I just wanted to encourage someone with that. Don't stay isolated, because there are people, you don't want grief to overcome you where you stay in that dark place, because coming out that dark place, and I can just speak out of experience with that, it's not healthy. And there is a way to, not saying that we forget our loved ones, but you can live life again. The thing is, we just have to figure out how how do you live life without that person being there, because I always feel like that old Brittany that was 3 years ago, she no longer exists. So I'm trying to figure out who is this new Brittany. And sometimes, we want to go back to the old ways, but in truth and all honesty, it will never really be the same. And that's that stuck feeling there.
There you
So
go.
just wanted to
Yep.
encourage not to isolate and to not be afraid to ask for help.
Correct. And thank you so much for that, Brittany. You took some of what I was going to say towards the end, but I appreciate you for even sharing that you're getting therapy, because a lot of people, they feel like they don't need it, they can handle it. And sometimes, and I am a true woman of faith, but a lot of times, church, do this, do that. And the thing is, when I was going through my grief, I told my pastor, like, I need to talk to somebody who don't know me. I trust you, I believe you, and I know, but I need someone who don't know me that can really talk to me, because everybody's be strong. You're stronger than you think you are. Da, da, da. But in this moment, I need to be vulnerable. In this moment, I don't want to be strong. I just want to let out every feeling that I have right now. And I'm just so glad to hear that you said you're getting that therapy. And one of the things that you said also stuck out to me was when you just stated that it'll never be the same. I actually had my grief counselor tell me that. She said, Denise, because for me, I would go outside. There are certain things that my husband handled, and I tried to do it. It didn't work out. She said, Denise, you got to do it your way. It'll never be the same.
Mm-hmm.
So find your way
Mm-hmm.
and what makes you happy. So that was one of the things that really, really stuck out to me about what she told me. But excuse me, there is still a life to live after the life we've lived.
Mm-hmm.
It's just being with the right people, having a community that stands with you, not just behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Having that strong moral support, having somebody, because like you said earlier, you can't just have anybody around you. You know, you have to know those who labor among you. You have to know those who are around you. And you want people to pour into you who are positive. After all, it's about peace. Peace, having that peace of mind, no matter what the storm is, you want that peace of mind. And I know that we can have that. We just have to be in that right place with the right people. And like you stated, and I stand on it, when you're going through grief, you cannot isolate yourself. And a lot of times when you feel like you want to be isolated or you need to be isolated, that is the time that you don't need to be. That is the time, excuse me, that is the time when you need to reach out to somebody. And we need people who's going to tell us the truth about ourselves. No one that's going to have us stuck in that same feeling that we are. We need somebody that's going to listen. So when you have somebody that could just listen, and I shared this at an event with the city of Lauderhill, that I had a moment. It'll be almost 6 years, July 26th, that I lost my husband. And I think it was near to Mother's Day. And I cried almost half of the day. And there was one person that I called my sisters, I called my mother. No one answered their phone, but it was one person when I laid back and I just started to breathe. And one person came to mind, and I called that individual. And that individual told me, Denise, you've come a long way. I mean, this person listened to me cry, and I didn't just cry, I wept. And this person listened to me weep. And when I stopped, he told me, you've come a long way. And I'm proud of you. Things like that is what we need, even if it's somebody just to listen. There were times when I was in my counseling sessions where I just cried and it was over. Literally, because I felt like, the thing is, I couldn't even cry around everybody else. And I wanted to, but it's like I had to be strong for everybody else. But once I got into that building with someone who didn't know me and I was able to pour it out, that was like, honestly, it was like a breath of fresh air. I felt like I was able to go in there, sit on that couch and just breathe and be me, be who I wanted to be in that moment. So it's so important to seek help. It's so many of us, are losing families due to gun violence. It needs to stop. It has to stop. There are different ways to resolve conflict, and this is something that we have to share with one another. And I'm so grateful to be a part of the Lauderhill Peace 365 movement. And my chairman, Prophetess Monique Henry, is not with us tonight either. She was supposed to be with us and I was supposed to be co-hosting, but I am your host. And we thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for tuning in. And Brittany's message was definitely rooted in love and kindness and community. She encourages others to not isolate during difficult times, to seek support, and to extend grace to those who are grieving. So, Brittany, we truly, truly thank you just for being here with us tonight. And I pray your continued strength in whatever it is that, you put your mind to do, however you want to honor Destiny's memory. I pray that everything works out, the way that it should work out according to God's plan. So we just thank you so much for your message. It is much needed. And, it's so many of us mothers, and not many people talk about grieving mothers, grieving parents, having to grieve and having to be a mother, and knowing that, there are other siblings that we have, or other children that we have that we need to support as well. And I'm just truly, truly thankful, to be a part of this. And Brittany, I thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would like to say to our audience? Or even about gun violence, like say anything to that,
Yeah, with gun violence, what I've also noticed too with the pattern coming up, with the summer, it seems like we have a lot more that triggers during the summer. So, just be aware, be vigilant. Peace starts within ourselves. But yeah, this summer, let's do something different where, we don't have to resort to guns, or if of just a situation and you see it escalating, and that person, step back and talk to them. And of course, me, I'm a believer, so pray even the more, over our children and our family members, because we are entering in that summer season. So the gun violence is truly tearing families apart. And It really takes a village and a community to stand up and say no, no more. So thank you guys for having me. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Prophetess Monique. And I hope that this can encourage another family member who's grieving a loved one or a child lost due to gun violence. So I pray it encourages them.
Yes, thank you. It has definitely encouraged me, Brittany. And you have been, I mean, awesome. You've been awesome. I thank you for even being able to share this story without much emotion. You know, because I know that it could be hard. It can be hard. And you've done it. We have done it. Gun violence. This world is plagued too much about gun violence. We need to talk about it. We have to deal with it to get rid of it. We need to talk more to our children. You know, we have kids that are bringing this stuff into schools and different things of that nature, and it has to stop. And we won't accept it. We will not accept it. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep fighting for peace, peace on our streets, peace in our homes, peace in the schools, peace of mind. Because a lot of things go on because people have these things going on in their minds. We need to talk about it. And it's okay not to be okay, but just know that you got to get help when you need it. And a lot of times when you're in that position of wanting to be isolated or that state of depression, talk to somebody, because it's times when, you know, we even have just even dealing with suicide amongst our younger people, waiting too late, and they're using these guns. They're taking, you know, guns that they know are in other places in some home, and they're killing themselves. And that's not what we want. That has to stop. Let's take the time, talk to our children, listen to one another. And, you know, as Brittany stated, and I'm a strong believer of prayer, and continue in prayer. We have to continue in prayer. And remember that peace is not just a movement. Peace is a mindset. And you have to have the mindset to do what's right. So, and in doing that, we have to be with people who's gonna do right and be right and encourage us, because everybody needs somebody. And so we thank you guys so much for tuning in. I choose peace 365 days of the year. I suggest you do the same. And remember that peace starts with me and peace starts with you. God bless. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
My name is Sandra Ralston, and I'm here representing my grandson who got shot and killed by a drive-by shooting. He was 30 years old, and it's about 3 months now that he's died. And my daughter is doing the walk because, you know, we're trying to do something for gun control.
What you are looking at is not just the crowd gathered for a weekend event. What you are looking at is the heartbeat, the muscle, the resilience, the soul of our movement. Today, we are walking together because we refuse to give up on the city of Lauderdale. It is time for this